The Jonas brothers are here. They're out there somewhere. Sasha and Malia are huge fans, but boys don't get any ideas. I have 2 words for you: predator drones. You will never see it coming. You think I'm joking?
These gays, they're trying to murder me.
What do I think of her?
Yes?
I don't think of her.
Read about that in the New York fucking Post.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I have one news for you.
What was that? Mm-hmm.
One thing to say to you, which is that are you officially now rocking around the Christmas tree? It's a happy holidays.
You think I have a tree already?
I'm just saying it's Christmas.
Are you putting on Mariah Carey already?
No, actually, I started playing Ariana Grande featuring Kelly Clarkson in October 11th,
Okay.
October 12th.
I
got in early.
Has she done a holiday album?
Are you joking? Wait, are you kidding? Wait, like, are you actually joking?
No. I'm not joking at all. And I'm definitely not Googling to make sure that's already happened.
Wait, are you fucking joking, you stupid bitch? Are you?
Oh, yeah, Santa told me, of course.
I'm confused. Does Christmas just wash over you?
I don't really do Christmas, though, to be honest. Oh, yeah,
Jesus
Christmas and
Christ.
chill.
I'm like, I just like having a hard time processing this.
I don't
but
remember
it's fine.
everything that's ever happened, unlike you.
We're
not all built with quantum computers in our brains.
Matt, listen to me right now.
Some of us are still in the 3D plane.
This is Eating for Free, the podcast recording live from the absolute edge of the internet. I am Ariana Grande, Christmas and Chill enjoyer, Joan Summers.
And I'm Waffle House attendee, Matthew Lawson.
And I just have to say, like, I would like everybody to spend the next week after listening to this episode
Here we go.
tweeting at the Eating for Free account to let everyone know, to let Matt know specifically, that Ariana Grande's Christmas and Chill is not something you need a computer in your brain to remember, considering it is arguably the most significant Christmas album of the last 15 years.
I just do not listen to Christmas music ever. Like I don't purposely go out of my way to listen to Christmas music.
I forget that you were raised by like those kinds of people though, because like
those kinds of people.
Because like the holidays.
Yeah, I was raised by the Amish. It's true.
In my family, no. I
can't
have
see
a big
you
family.
listening to Christmas music out of your own way.
I love Christmas music.
That's crazy.
I love the whole vibe. I love Christmas movies.
Oh, I do like Christmas movies.
I love Christmas movies. I love going in San Jose, where nearby where I grew up, there was Christmas in the Park every year. So I loved going to Christmas in the Park. Like that was what me and my friends did every weekend, was going and getting hot chocolate at Christmas in the Park, smoking cigarettes and ice skating. And
the cigarettes do sound nice in the cold air.
Yeah. And I love ice skating. I love
you
holiday
can skate.
baking.
I can't, so
like
watch from the
we
sidelines.
just have a bunch of like rituals at Christmas, but I come from that kind of family where there's like a lot of us in my immediate family, so like we just have a lot of like things that were like all together activities for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So yeah, no, I love it. Like, you know, every year I have to make Christmas cinnamon rolls, which is like a family tradition.
Okay,
of
but
course.
those go off. Like
those are like
any
the
time of
best
the year.
cinnamon roll. Matt has received many trays of my Christmas cinnamon
and
rolls that I've made by
I think
hand.
they're the oatmeal cookies you made me. They were, oh my god, yeah, you're good.
They're so
you
good.
Can bake.
I'm really good. I have like very few skill sets in this life, outside of being a podcaster, and one of them is
that's not a
sewing,
skill, let's
and
be
one
honest.
of them is holiday baking exclusively, not regular baking. Like, don't ask me to make you a cake in
No.
March. Don't ask me to make you a cake in June.
Cake is
don't
like
ask me to make
its
you
own
cookies
thing,
in
too,
September.
let's be honest.
But like November rolls around, you want a pie, babe. You want a turkey pot pie,
Ooh,
babe.
Ooh. Now, I do love holiday food. We definitely do that.
I know.
My parents would skip Christmas, but we wouldn't skip like the food and like the gathering. But we wouldn't. We don't do anything like literally festive.
Like literally one of the first times I like literally ever met you. Not literally ever met you, but like I think like, let's see.
We met in the summer, right?
No. My dating anniversary with my ex, like the non-wedding anniversary was September 11th. So I'm trying to think like the holidays started like pretty soon after we started dating.
Yeah, you're like actually hanging out often. That's true.
And remember we hosted that Thanksgiving
We
that
did.
first year.
Yeah.
And I wore that insane Jean Paul Gaultier dress. And
That was a good Thanksgiving,
you saw what I turned into on that Thanksgiving in somebody's house I did not live in.
She was mother.
I was
The mother we
mothering
never had.
Severely.
It was a house full of
Severely.
men. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it
very
was me
necessary.
and 8 men celebrating Thanksgiving. And I'm lording over the mac and cheese. I'm lording over the mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
I'm lording over the stuffing. I made sure the pies got baked. I made the cookies. I made you
That was
cinnamon
a
rolls
really
that
good
morning.
Friendsgiving. Like, we actually really
That
turned
was
it out.
like such a successful. And then remember,
I think
went
you and I
to-
together baked like 90% of what was on the
No,
table.
wait. Do you remember that party that we went to at our neighbor's place
Of
where it
course.
was like a weeds giving or something?
Because they had grown a bunch
where-
of weed and like had joints
Yeah.
all over the house.
Yeah, they had grown a bunch of weed. So literally it was like Mary Kate's wedding where they just had bowls of cigarettes at every table, but it was bowls of joints. Like, guys, I'm not
so
joking. There was like
iconic.
100. There was like 150 joints.
That's the way to do
and
it.
I think we all smoked at least half of them and then just took the rest of them.
It was
home
like
with
pick up
us.
2 at a time. Like,
And that actually is the party where Eating for Free started.
That's true.
At the
We
holiday.
came up-
and nobody knows this.
the
This
melding
is,
of the minds.
I think we've like said this on maybe like an episode way back in the day, but Matt and I discovered at that party across from each other, because we got sat at the same table, obviously, because like we were their next door neighbors. Our whole house was like one of the tables. And there was like so many people there too. I was just remembering that. That was a
full house,
huge.
yeah.
Yeah. There was like 40 people at that.
And that's a tiny
Friendsgiving.
house, yeah.
Yeah. So no, I remember we were sitting there and we discovered at that party that we have a knack for entertaining a lot of
And
people at
talking
the same time
nonstop.
and volleying. And it was the first time where I was ever like, I think, next to somebody where I was like, how do I say this nicely? Like, where I felt like for the first time in a very long time, I'd met somebody who I could keep up with and
There
also
it
who
is.
could keep up with me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, we had
especially
the banter.
comedically speaking. Yeah.
had the banter.
But I also was the first time I think I ever offended Matt, and we had like a genuinely
And I
tense
remember what you
moment at
said.
the table. Yeah, you remember. I got him. I will say I got him. Don't ask me why this came up. We were making some kind of joke about the fact that like the corner store by our apartment sold like chicken tenders or something, and like the price of the chicken
can't
tenders
remember
had
what it
gone up,
was.
or they were like always now
Chicken
out of the
tenders have
chicken
gone up.
tenders. Yeah, no, just something. And Matt made some kind of comment about like this neighborhood or whatever. And to be clear, I was an alcoholic at this point,
And
and
there's-
I think I had like.
It can't be about the
6
chicken tenders because I love those chicken tenders.
No. It was like something about the corner store or the like play.
I'm sure I rolled
across
my
the
eyes at something. Yeah.
You rolled your eyes at something in our neighborhood. And I was like 6 glasses of wine deep, and we had only been
You're
there
like,
an hour.
This bitch.
And I had smoked a lot of weed, and I lifted my red wine up, and I just remember looking you dead in the eyes and being like, you know, I don't know you very well, but you seem like the type of person to see a plastic bag blow across the street and say, man, this neighborhood's really gone downhill.
In front of like literally everybody. And the only problem is
like,
because
to be
you got
clear,
my friend
to-
gagged, and that's when
to
I really
be-
get angry.
To be clear,
I'm like, do not turn these-
Matt
do
and
not turn
I
them
had
against me.
only known each other like
2 or 3 months.
5 or 6
Yeah.
months. I mean, we had been coworkers for like 6 months and friends for like
Yeah.
3 of those months, and I'd only been dating your
Yeah, I
roommate
was like,
for like
you don't
2
know
of
me.
them. And Matt,
Come into my neighborly home.
I just saw all the color like drain out of Matt's face as everyone starts cracking up, and I was like, oh crap, did I go too far? And I remember
Because I take pride in our neighborhood.
there
There are many plastic bags on our street nonstop at that house.
I hooked up with somebody in the
then-
bathroom at that party,
Yeah.
and I
And the rest was
remember
history.
asking them after, like, do you think I offended Matt earlier? And he was like, yeah, probably. He gets offended pretty easily.
Okay, no, who said that?
Matt, who's the only
I know,
person
I
I
know.
would have had sex with at that party?
I know who
Anyways,
said that.
So all this to say, the holidays are a special time for Matt and I.
Yes, I mean, really, that's where it all originated. It's true, because then
Remember
2 months
how I
later, we're
spent
like making a
Christmas with
pod.
you last year. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
I was at your house on Christmas last year.
Yeah, you were. For a
That's when I
brief
brought you
moment.
all that food.
You did. And those cookies, like, literally sealed wrapped in, like...
Yeah. Oh my
you
God.
actually had, like, the cookie thing that, like, makes them, like, you can put them on a stock shelf. Like, they're actually individually
Yeah.
wrapped and sealed. I was like, wow, the presentation.
Yeah, so the
You can't beat
holidays
it.
are a special time for us, even if Matt doesn't know the name of Ariana Grande's Christmas and Chill. Wow, we've done 10 minutes about Christmas. And
Happy
it's
November 1st, everyone.
Happy November 1st. Have you gotten any pumpkin spice lattes to like celebrate the air, the Christmas
I had
chill?
one at the airport. That was nice.
How was it? A Dunkin'?
And no, it was some local coffee chain at the Philly airport. Shout out Philly airport. Getting there 2 hours early was a blessing. I
Okay,
cleaned
wait,
up my...
was it how was that airport? Was it fine?
Oh, it was fine. Yeah. I mean, getting there early was better. It was so quick to get through. So that was very nice. No problem. Honestly, my American Airlines flight was really relatively nice. I was preparing to like die on this plane as
Yeah,
one
you
ship when
were.
flying. And it was actually fine. It was not too bad.
You survived the
I survived.
ring
Yeah.
Airbnb.
Leaving that Airbnb that early was so terrifying. Oh my God. I still haven't left a review for it, even though I want to like drag it for filth. I'm so tired of Airbnbs where they call it a new build. And what they mean is we got someone in here to do some work recently that
Yeah.
wasn't actually good. Maybe
Yeah.
causes more issues than, solutions.
Before I ask you about what you did yesterday, guys, there is a march happening in Washington, D.C. on
yes.
Saturday for Palestine. We are showing the fuck up in Washington, D.C. I will be there. I know a lot of you guys will be there. And they are still, I think, currently actively organizing bus routes from like most major cities in the East Coast, and you might get lucky. You might find one of those bus routes is easy for you to join in on. There's carpools happening. There's a lot of things happening. So get involved if you're in the East Coast, if it's like, something you're able to do, if you can physically be there. I and Matt obviously highly suggest you guys show the fuck up. This is like one of the most significant events of our adult lives. And I think that it is really important that we stand united with Palestine in this moment.
Yeah.
And, really show that we all are united here in opposition to our elected representatives who enable genocide with our tax dollars. So before I wanted to say anything else, I wanted to get that out of the way, make sure that I shout that out. If you've been living under a rock and haven't heard about it, there are details everywhere. And I hope to see some of you there. You will definitely see me. So
It's going to be a
Other
huge
than that-
turnout. I know it.
we have a little bit shorter of an episode today because, like I said, we were playing catch up and we're going to be covering 2010. It's funny because after 2010, things are going to go a lot faster for the Jonas Brothers. So we have a little bit more flexibility to catch up since we didn't record last week, or didn't record 2 weeks ago. But what did you do for Halloween? Did you do anything fun before we jump in the episode?
Oh, yeah. I know you had a great time when you were out. I'll ask about that in a
I
second.
had so much fun last
yeah,
night.
I didn't do
I was
anything. I already went to parties on the
Looking
weekend.
like a
so
slut,
I was
acting like a bitch.
Yeah. What I ended up doing was we got Mexican takeout, always good. And then I watched the first time ever Rosemary's Baby, which I have never seen. Just crazy. And 10 out of 10. Great movie. Oh my
Hell yeah.
God. It was so good. I also saw Killers of the Flower Moon on the weekend, which shockingly had parallels to Rosemary's Baby.
Wow.
Killers of the Flower Moon also, I don't want to necessarily talk about in here too much because there's enough people talking about that will probably have much better information than I have, but that was a movie, all I can say. Still don't know how to feel about it. It was really intense. It's two insane movies to go back to back. For very different reasons, obviously.
Wait, where'd you get takeout from? Did you get it from a place?
I don't want to say the name, but it's a place in Alameda that I found that's really good.
Wait, is it the place that we ordered from?
We've never ordered
when I
from
was living.
before.
Okay.
I found it recently, actually, and they are
damn.
slavers. They're like a real local place where I'm like, this reminds me so much of San Diego.
There's this guy I was talking to who was telling me about a place in South Philly that I should go. So I will
for some good Mexican food.
Be telling you if I find good Mexican food here. Yeah, I had fun last night. Oh my god.
Yeah, you were out on the town.
Yeah, Sam Crooks and Nannies, who did our music, opened for Japanese breakfast last night. So cool. I just hung out at that show. There was like a gathering afterwards because obviously it was a Halloween party after, but also it was the last stop on Japanese Breakfast's tour for Jubilee, the album.
It was the final show. Perfect.
Yeah, so it was like a farewell send off party for them / just like general Halloween get together with like the crew and the bands.
And you made that
stuff.
insane outfit for Sam. That was so sick. I don't know if you posted on social,
really
right?
good outfit. Yeah, I did. Okay, you can see it on. Well, no, I haven't posted that one on social media yet, but I will. It was so much fun. The Japanese breakfast dressed up. It was like they did like a Lord of the Rings theme. So,
yes.
Michelle, the lead singer, was Saruman, and then like there was Gandalf, there was like all the hobbits. It was really fun. And they had a bunch of like screens from the movie The Eye. They did confetti, all of the works, you know. But Crooks and Nannies, they didn't have like a theme across the board, but Sam really, really wanted to be Carrie from the movie Carrie after Blood, and was gonna pour blood on herself on stage, but then I think it was like not an issue with the
It is a little complicated.
But I think it was just gonna be too complicated to do it on stage. Yeah. So I'd been kind of struggling to find a dress and showed me like 4 of the dresses that she had acquired and was like, one of these will fit. And we tried them all on. And I was like, why don't I just make you a dress? Like, I'll just make you a dress. And she was like, we have 48 hours until the show. And I was like,
bet.
I was like, okay, I'll get it done.
The machine's
in 12.
already on. You're like, let's go.
I literally was pulling out the sewing machine and like pulling out the pins. And I was like, listen, I was like, where's the seam ripper? So I harvested all the dresses that she bought. They were like vintage, like thrifted dresses. They were not like brand new. I harvested them all for parts. So I like, cut out all the fabric and I made fabric. I basically remade entire dresses from scratch out of this like fabric that I had.
Impressive.
I one of them had lace on it. So I harvested the lace, used that to do trim for a slit cutout that went all the way up to her, like essentially her rib cage, it felt like. I cinched her into it, and then I created like kind of multiple tiers of the dress. My vibe I was going for was like, in the movie, Carrie's in a prom dress, or like in like like a prom dress style dress when she gets all the pig blood poured on her.
Yeah.
And so because it was kind of like a more punk rock like updated vibe, I wanted it to look like a prom queen that had like gotten into a fight. So I created this like tier to the dress, like tiered layers to the dress where they were different colors of silk on each layer, and then I cut it along the bias so it was like higher on one side than the other, and then I ripped all the hems with a special like kind of ripper that I can do to like fray the edges to make it look like her dress had been like, torn across her body. Yeah. And then once we got everything cinched into it and I reinstalled the zippers so that like she could be really snatched, we painted it with blood, like prop blood. And I painted it in a way where we used the prop blood almost as like I don't know how else to say it, but a way to like contour the dress onto her body, because when it dried,
oh yeah, because it like kind of sucks the clothing.
Yeah,
the skin,
so
right?
we kind of we used the dress to kind of create a blood mold on her body with the dress, so it looked like the dress was like painted onto her body in blood. And then at the venue, she poured the blood on herself, and literally everywhere she went all night, people kept saying that is the coolest costume ever, and I felt so proud because
yes, I love that.
I mean, she did the blood on herself. I did the blood on the dress because obviously I wasn't in the green room with her when she was doing it. But it turned out so good. And then of course I was sexy Ariana Grande as Dangerous Woman. And I gotta say, like, just very briefly, the three of us.
Yeah, what was the reaction?
So I went with Virgil of Big Soy Naturals and then Sam. And, you know, all of us are like stunting all the time. And so, you know, we show up.
Y'all are like that meme of like Lois Griffin and like
literally
Burger's wife. Like, all like plotted out on the street.
Literally like stunting, serving cunt constantly wherever we go. And so we three roll up to the party, snatched, cinched waist, full glam, full
waist
beat.
on Fuck Blue Lives.
You saw my tits like pushed. I posted a photo of it on social media, so you guys can go there on my Instagram to see what I look like. And I'm thinking like, oh, it's like a band that's like a big band, you know, and they're having an after party. I'm thinking in terms of LA. I'm thinking in terms of New York. I'm thinking in terms of the kinds of parties I go to when I like have to be in these spaces, which, to be clear, like, it was funny being in it because sometimes in those spaces you can feel a little out of place, but it always just makes me feel like I'm at work, like whenever I'm in like a place like that, you know, because I'm just at work. So anyways, I show up looking like that, and then everyone is in like kitschy, funny costumes, and I'm like
super casual.
I literally am in the middle of the room in a body contouring, suctioned latex,
all black
corset, all black latex gloves up to my armpits, bunny mask, like 9-inch heels, like
it's so iconic, actually.
Insane. And then Virgil was like looking really cool too. So then we like, anyways, just had this whole moment. And then I was at this party and I was like, oh my God. And I kept saying to my friends, I was like, I think I severely underestimated what everyone was going to look like at this party. I'm literally like,
it's like
stressed.
I hate to say because it's so like cringe now, but it's literally that Mean Girls like a like scene like for Halloween. Like,
no,
oh,
literally.
I thought we were supposed to look like sluts.
No, literally.
Where are the hot bodies?
I'm literally showing up in the house
Where's
bunny
the body
outfit
con?
to a party of people in jeans. I was like, it was fun though. I had so much fun.
Halloween's all about.
We were cracking each other up the whole night, obviously. So I had a good time, but it was fun to do, and it was nice to see like a different part of Philadelphia because I'm never in Fishtown, where the venue was. So you know, would never live there, but fun for a night out.
There you go.
It was fun Halloween. It was the most fun Halloween I think I've had in like a decade. So
yeah, Halloween's been flopping the last few years.
You know
for
me.
obvious reasons.
Yeah, I mean, 2020 through 2022, Halloweens were a bust.
It made no sense,
Like, I think I was protesting on the 2016 Halloween. And then, you know, from like 2017 to 2020, I wasn't doing anything for Halloween.
Yeah, neither was
So
I.
this is the first time I've been like,
I didn't really have like the money or time to even do an outfit. This is the first time I was like, oh, let me actually like put something together because I can actually do it.
Yeah. Okay. So we're almost like 25 minutes into this episode. I guess we should finally talk about the Jonas Brothers.
Also another thing to say, one more thing. We finally got our Camp Rock recap on the Patreon.
Yeah.
You haven't seen, it's also our Halloween special, so we were all dressed up if you're going to get the video tier. So patreon.com/ink for free.
Yeah, I mean, we've been literally blasting through this Jonas Brothers series, and this episode today will not take as long because we really just don't have as many sources for this one. This is sort of like part 2 to part 5, you know?
5.1.
So like, think of it
5.2.
like that. And also, it's turning of the seasons. Matt and I never get to hang out. We wanted to chat shit. And it was Halloween.
Come on now. And this is just this is just 2010, right? This whole episode?
Yeah. Okay, so wait, can I tell you something, by the way?
Uh-huh.
Remind me to tell you about how I accidentally bullied an SNL cast member last night. When this is done. Okay.
Let me write this down.
Yeah, write that down. Write that down. Okay, you ready?
Let's go.
So, 2010, we left off with Nick Jonas announcing that he was starting a new band, Nick Jonas and the Administration. The band at the time were like We are not breaking up. We're getting back together. We literally are fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And famously, Nick and Joe and Kevin all gave separate things where they were saying like, yeah, you know, we put out like 5 albums in 4 years or something like that. 4 albums in 3 years. Excuse me.
Like it's a
They're
little
like,
bit.
We put out 4 albums in 3 years, and it was a lot. So you know, our next album will come out in 2011, and we told you all obviously that album would never come until
10 years later.
10 years later.
10 years later. Yes.
So,
and what was the other thing they said in the interview with where they were like, oh, I mean, anything we do is like a side project. Anything we do outside the brothers is a side project. I couldn't just, you know, go back home and, you know, admit that I'm going solo. We could never do that. Little did we know.
Little did we know. It was very, there's not going to be a pool, you stupid
slut.
What is it is it stupid slut?
Yeah, it is, of course.
Okay, cool. So, January 4th, 2010, Nick Jonas makes his debut with The Administration Live. I got that from Spin, but I really don't care to know how they did because it's like whatever. The 25th, an article in Crush comes out after his appearance, Joe Jonas's appearance on Ryan Seacrest's Kiss FM show. Excuse me. Oh God, isn't it funny that it was Kiss FM? Now Seacrest is like the de facto leader of Sirius Radio, but I love just Ryan Seacrest's Kiss FM radio show on Monday. Anyways, Joe goes on Ryan Seacrest's Kiss FM show, and he says, quote, "We're done," about the Jonas Brothers when asked about how his new brother's band is going. And then he explains that obviously he's like joking. He says that the brothers are tired from being on the road for the past couple of years and they really needed to take time off. They needed a break. He says, quote, "I think it's nice to have a little bit of break where we can all individually do some things. We didn't have this year totally mapped out like the past few years because we wanted to have a little bit of break time to figure it all out. I think we will do a tour for sure as the Jonas Brothers, but then we'll see from there." Also in that interview, he reveals that he would like to play Spider-Man.
Oh God, back in 2010, they were really shopping around.
There's not going to be a Spider-Man movie, you stupid bitch. There's not going to be any movies, Joe Jonas.
By the way, I just looked at Nick's, like, you know, in the administration. He is like 16, 17. It's like 16. All full adults that he's with in this band. It looks really weird. In
January, rumors also pop up that Hillary Duff is dating Joe Jonas because... Now, this is the stupidest dating rumor to date. All the lights in my apartment went out, so like I need to find a way to get brighter lights in my room at night because it tricks my brain into thinking I'm in the dark, even though I'm sitting here in front of a ring light being blasted by like 1 billion K like LEDs.
LEDs,
yeah. I'm like, the LEDs are not cutting it, telling my brain that I'm awake. So, just the changing of the seasons, man. So, these dating rumors pop up with Hillary Duff, and everyone's convinced that they're dating because there's these photos that come out of what looks like Joe leaving Hillary Duff's house. And everyone's like, are they dating? Are they dating? Are they dating? And he explains in that same interview with Ryan Seacrest that like, we're not dating. We are next door neighbors. She's already in a long-term relationship. What happened was there were photographers around. And so I left my house a different way. That makes it look like I'm leaving her house because we have the same, like shared backyard spaces or something.
Yeah.
So if you look at the houses and the photos, it like makes sense what he's saying. He basically just like went around the backyard and then went out a different backyard path than his own.
They're like, he's because like out, these photographers, hiding his relationship.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, he's clearly fucking Hillary Duff. Also, at the time, people that lived in this neighborhood also included Miley Cyrus, which I just thought was interesting. So, in February, that rumored meetup between Nick Jonas and Selena Gomez finally comes to fruition, and I would love for you to look at this Daily Mail article and see these photos of them. It's so funny.
Oh my God. Nick Jonas treats Selena Gomez to a day out the golf course.
They were both 17.
I was going to say they're minors at a golf course. I'm bored.
Yeah, like literally, but these photos of them at the golf course
pushing strollers around.
I love this one photo of her. Like, okay, wait.
These are hilarious. Look, they look so old for like how young they are.
No, Matt, this is my favorite thing I've ever seen in my life. Look at these photos I'm about to text you because it is, every time I think about it, I laugh. Not on form. Selena looks unimpressed with shot as she goes in search of a ball.
I just would like, really? Oh my God, I could not handle these kind of photos being taken of me so casually. Like, no one looks that interesting while golfing. Meanwhile, just like some children.
And by the way, it looks like she's smoking a cigarette in those photos.
I know,
but it's
I was about to say.
It's a lollipop, but it just looks like a cigarette.
Oh, you know, they're like, keep
funny.
that one.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's this photo of her holding the club like behind her, looking like she's just come back from war. Like in that photo that I sent you.
Yes. No, really though.
Kills me.
I can't go over the copy above, but with Nick famously declaring that he doesn't believe in sex before marriage, wearing a purity ring to prove his abstinence, a romantic sexy date was hardly going to be at the top of his agenda.
Nick and Selena were first romantically linked in the summer of 2008. Something that Nick and Selena insist is that they are after is all they are after. Okay, wait. What? Something that Nick and Selena... Okay. Oh, this is crazy copy. Nick had a 2-year relationship with singer Miley Cyrus, which ended in 2007, but they are still reportedly good friends. Something that Nick and Selena insist is all they are after they were spotted out together on several occasions. Selena said she was hurt by gossip, and she gets protective when people talk about her and her friends. Ooh, Nick also denied they were an item, but said at the time that he was flattered by the rumors. Meanwhile, his older brother Joe was also being romantically linked to British teen Pixie Lott.
Pixie Lott? That is so British.
After they were spotted spending time together in LA. They met at the MTV Music Awards in Berlin in November and enjoyed each other's company since, but Pixie Lott insisted this weekend that they are just friends. We're only working together. He's a great guy, but nothing's happening at the moment. I'm still very much single. Also, this photo of Joe Jonas would. So I have to be living in my truth here. I'm nothing if not a completely honest person. So this is where the episode really takes a turn for us.
Oh my God. No. Sorry, I'm just reading the headline.
I'm getting this from CNN, but you can get this from anywhere. Matt?
No. No.
In May of 2010, then President Obama, says, quote, Jonas Brothers are here tonight. Sasha and Malia are huge fans, but boys don't get any ideas. 2 words, predator drones.
Yeah, no.
So, for those of you who don't know, this drone strikes from these predator drones were part of the more broadly defined as the genocidal imperialists in the United States would have it, the quote, global war on terror as an extension of the war in Afghanistan.
My favorite phrase.
These strikes that Obama is joking about with these predator drones were conducted in Pakistan specifically that year and resulted in the deaths of hundreds of Pakistani civilians, thousands if you believe other reports, and destroyed countless towns, killed countless women and children, and were part of a series of, from 2004 to 2018, 400 plus drone strikes in the region by the United States, many of which were conducted by Obama, who ramped up this program. And it was one of the bloodiest parts of the US's invasion of the Middle East after 9/11. Again, bolstered, extremely well funded by, and totally supported by President Obama, who is, again, part of the global war apparatus, gleefully at that.
Oh, yes.
And it's one of those things that is, at this point, I think especially poignant because, like, I'm not drawing one-to-one parallels about, like, what is happening right now in Palestine to what was happening in, like, Afghanistan or Pakistan, because, like, it is really not a one-to-one comparison, right? Like,
Yeah.
Israel is like an actively occupying, genocidal, colonizing force that is like has completely invaded and set up settlements, etc. in Palestine. Obviously, the US was an imperial power that invaded the Middle East, but I think that there are parallels that are quite poignant to this moment that we're living through that we can draw here, in the sense that, like, you have, while mass death is occurring under the US's purview,
Yep.
while mass death is being carried out in the US's name, you have the president of the United States on television delegitimizing the death of civilians. And more recently, we have Biden saying that, like, you know, we can't believe the numbers of Palestine that are coming out of Palestine, of civilians and just like Palestinians that have been killed more broadly. I don't even want to just define them as Palestinians, right? I mean, sorry, I don't want to define them as just civilians. They are Palestinians that have been murdered by Israel and are being, you know, ethnically cleansed from their homeland currently. And I think that if you look back at this moment, while Obama wasn't saying, like, I don't know if those deaths are even real, he's making a joke about an active weapon of war that at that point had just, like, within a month or so of that joke being said, killed countless civilians in Pakistan. So it's like you see this, like, continuous cycle of the president being both the mouthpiece of war, the delegitimizer of death, the arm of this, like, global imperial wing. And it's just, like, so stunning to me that, like, in a series about the Jonas brothers, I just am, like, so intimately feeling this, like, thread through history of, like, what the U.S. has aided, abetted, and carried out in its own name with taxpayer dollars. You know, Predator drones, the other thing about them, for people who are older, like Matt and I now, like, you know, approaching 30,
God, don't say we're
like,
older.
well, no, but I'm saying, like, we are old enough to remember
Yes.
2010 and remember the conversations about Predator drones in the media, you know, and what it meant for the new era of war, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's very
and
true.
one of the things about them also is that Predator drones are extremely expensive. Like, they were extremely expensive. And they were part of this, like, increasingly ramped up military budget that accounted for almost the majority of the US's spending internationally. And, like, it's interesting that, like, again, even just, like, the taxes, right? Like, the way our taxes go to funding genocide in Israel, our taxes in this point in time too, in 2010, were also funding the Predator drones, which, by the way, like, allegedly, I mean, like, this number has changed, but, like, they might have been in 2010, they cost like 30 to 40 million in 2021, 2022. So, like, in 2010, they probably would have cost, like, minimum 28 million, 29 million per drone,
Jesus
right?
Christ.
So anyways, it's just one of those things where when I was putting this notes together, this episode was written a few weeks ago, and the stuff that's happening in Palestine right now had just really started to ramp up. And it was just like one of these things where I was like, oh my God, like, time is a flat circle. The last 15 years have happened all in the same month, right? Like, it was just crazy. So
disgusting.
I actually saw a familiar face in my research of this, Alex Perrine, who has gone on to be one of like the legendary blog editors of our time, and still is working today. I don't know. I've never worked for Alex, but if you ever came through like the Gawker media ecosystem, you know the effects of Alex Perrine on like the blogosphere, and or have had a bunch of colleagues in common with Alex Perrine. But anyways, Alex Perrine wrote about this at the time for Salon and said, quote, it's funny, the joke meaning, it's funny because Predator drone strikes in Pakistan have killed literally hundreds of completely innocent civilians. And now the president is evincing a casual disregard for those lives he is responsible for by making a lighthearted joke about killing famous young celebrities for the crime of attempting to sleep with his young daughters. Really, everything about the joke is inappropriate. That's why you shouldn't analyze humor too much. And it's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, literally, it was just one of those things where I was like, did anyone say anything about this at the time?
Obama was so uniquely evil. It's like, it reminds me of when he would laugh at like in Flint, Michigan about the quality of the water, like laughing about how you can't drink it. And it's like, sends shivers down the spine in terms of how easily he was able to get away with some really fucking nasty shit.
Not to make it about voting in a Jonas Brothers episode, but like, this is one of those things.
We're not voting ever again.
No, but this is one of those things I tell people about the voting thing, right? Is they're like, I was actually having a serious conversation with this about Virgil, where it was like, we were sitting at dinner a couple weeks ago, or like a week ago or whatever, and we were talking about how the not voting discourse was going, right? Obviously, we're never going to vote again for any presidential, like Democratic presidential candidate. And that's obviously, just to be clear, that doesn't mean we're voting Republican, if that has to be clarified whatsoever.
We've done that enough.
You're smart.
No, I was just like,
in case that sounded like that means we're voting Republican. No. We're just like not voting in the presidential elections anymore for the Democrats. And really probably not even in the Senate ones either. But I mean, unless. But I'm certainly not voting for John Fetterman. So anyways, we were talking about that, and we were like seriously reckoning with the fact that the majority of war crimes perpetrated by the U.S., the majority of mass death overseas and here in the States, because of the ramped up police budgets and the fact that so many police departments have been trained with the IDF under Democratic presidents, that like Democratic presidents hold the highest body count, and they are the ones that have sanctioned things like sanctions against Iran, lied about the Middle East. They've sent in countless troops. They've done countless drone strikes. They've killed thousands of civilians. They have now added to that total by funding the IDF and its genocidal campaign against Palestinians, right? Like, Trump was a uniquely evil and incompetent president, but it always and still does feel
not
very
much
much
has changed. It feels in some of these instances.
It does feel very much like, at least for Trump, presidency was never quite his goal at all. Like, obviously we know that, he wanted to make a media gambit when he ran for president and start his own network, and then it like, because the Democrats are so uniquely incompetent and the Republicans have capitalized on that incompetence, as well as the laws in this country to do things like gerrymandering, yada yada, we know the story now, they like, stumbled their way into the White House. But the Democrats are the ones that are supposed to be the savvy operators, well-funded, the intelligentsia. They're the like global operators. They're like well-connected. They're like, the tastemakers of the world, yada, yada, yada.
Wouldn't it be
They're
crazy
like
if
the
that was
elite.
true?
They're going to save us.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
And it's like, babe, all of you are just a bunch of genocidal maniacs with like innumerable lives on
you
your
all just
hands.
legitimately control most resources that we cannot access. That's
And also-
mostly what it is. Like Obama with this drone strike joke, just because he has the ability to send these strikes out is all he has to really give legitimacy.
Yeah, I mean, what I find the differences between the Republican and Democratic controlled eras of my life now in the White House is that during the Democratic eras, they had things like the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where Obama made jokes about drone strikes and the Jonas Brothers. Like, that's the difference, right?
The way that shit is like
That's the
literally
difference.
aging like rotten milk. Like
Rot
rot. I can't believe we've been taken
to
here.
all of them. in the words of Wendy Williams.
It's funny how much these deep dives we're doing are really just triggering our entire political trauma from the last 20 years of American history.
So, if you want to just lighten it up a little bit now, I guess, after we've gone off the rails slightly, Huffington Post goes to an event in Midtown, and Kevin Jonas is talking at this event, and transcripts of this event have been guys, I'm not joking. This has literally been wiped off the face of the map. HuffPost is the only first person sourcing on this. And if you go to I had to work so hard to find a first person source on this because you could tell Kevin Jonas's people or the Jonas Brothers people probably deleted all traces of this off the internet.
Absolutely.
But Kevin Jonas makes a joke at this event and says, to be honest about it, sex was not worth the wait. After we did it, I kind of was like, that's it. And it's yeah, no shit, babe. You took your pants off and it already came. It didn't even make it in your wife.
That is legitimately such a bold thing to say
you
out
came
loud.
from putting the condom on. The condom made you come.
Stop.
And he's
he only was jerking off his entire life so much he's had no idea what actual sex was like.
Yeah, he's to be clear, he was joking, as they say. But I just found that really
not
funny.
Something to joke about.
But it goes back to what we said in our original episode about how the sex stuff really becomes a non-issue for them after a 6-7 month time period where it was the only thing the Daily Mail wanted to talk about. So Joe Jonas and Demi, who just last year had denied that they were dating, comes out they were lying. People magazine in May. And again, Demi was 17. Actually,
even younger probably when they started.
No.
Or when they started working together.
Maybe.
Well,
maybe
16, 17. They're 17 as of May 2010.
Yeah, and they turned 17 August 20th, 2009. Okay. So we don't know how long they were really dating for. It goes back and forth, but he could have been 19, she could have been 16. Who's to say? He's 20, she's 17 at this point. Who's to say? So
they've been lying.
Yeah, they've been lying. And a source tells people that they called it quits, but are still going to have to go on tour together starting July 27th, 2010 in Dallas. They went public previously in the year in March. They said they met on the Camp Rock set in 2007, then they toured together, fell in love, the whole deal.
That would have made Demi 14 on that set.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, Demi says, quote, I'm fortunate at the time Demi had spoken to people shortly before the breakup, and they had said that, quote, I'm fortunate to get to work with the person that I'm in a relationship with. Rather than being across the country and texting him, I can have him hold my hand when I'm tired. At the time before their breakup, when they had talked to people about their relationship, Joe had said, quote, I think after the movie was complete, we kind of took time to get to know each other a little deeper. Now, they went public with their relationship in March after lying about it the previous year. They said they wanted privacy at the time, and then obviously split up by May. Now, something very awkward happens because there is a Teen Vogue interview that is scheduled to release in May that gets pushed back because it was a couples interview timed with the release of Camp Rock 2 Final Jam earlier in the year. And they are interviewing each other about being in a relationship. But when the interview is set to go live, they break up, and the interviewer has to completely reformat the entire interview to be like, they broke up. So, yeah, like I said, last week. Camp Rock 2 was set to come out in 2010. It comes out. It like really doesn't make a splash at all. It's not noteworthy enough to talk about. We had already known it was happening, so we're not going to spend much time on it. But I'm going to read this copy from Teen Vogue, and then we are going to do the interview game where you play Joe, I play Demi.
Yeah, sounds good.
So, quote, they're both talented, good-looking, and famous, but Joe Jonas and Demi Lovato don't exactly have the world on a string. Simple pleasures of the sort afforded to other kids their age sometimes elude them. Other kids their age. Babe, Joe Jonas is 20.
Like people in
Babe,
college.
Joe Jonas is 20.
I mean,
He's
when you're 20, you're basically a kid, to be fair.
Simpler pleasures of the sort afforded to kids their age often elude them. Earlier this year, when Camp Rock 2 Final Jam decided to test the romantic possibilities of their rock-solid friendship, they felt compelled to do so in public. When they broke up just a few months later, Joe announced it by issuing a statement, and Demi, always true to her loyal fans, decided to confirm the details on Twitter. Quote, I kind of learned throughout this whole experience that my private life isn't awesome as it might seem. Meaning having my private life be public isn't as awesome as it might seem. Now, this interview happens while they're dating. So we flash back now to the interview, and we're going to talk about a little bit what goes on. So Teen Vogue asks, you guys were friends before you started dating. Whose idea was it to take the next step?
And Joe says, mine.
Teen Vogue then says, so Demi, you didn't already fancy him? Demi says, quote, I had always fancied him. Want to know what actually happened? One night I asked him, what is the deal? We're perfect for each other. What are you doing? And he was like, this is really awkward. I have to go.
Jonas replied, I needed time to think.
Demi then says, quote, I thought, great, I just ruined a friendship. But then the next day, he came knocking at my door.
And when she confronted me, I kind of confronted myself.
Teen Vogue then asks, Joe's been in a very high-profile relationships with Taylor Swift and Camilla Bell, and Demi's dated Trace Cyrus. Was it ever hard to see each other with other people? Demi says, quote, every girlfriend he had, I always wanted to have a good friendship with, because I felt like if she was worthy enough to be with him, then she must be great. It sucked watching, but I was always happy for him.
Joe then says, it wasn't easy.
I'm getting the exact date on Camp Rock 2, by the way, because I think I had said it had already come out. Sorry. It comes out in September, but it really doesn't make a splash, so we don't have to talk about it much. Okay. Demi then says, sometimes it was like, so my boyfriend is so awesome. Quote, well, my girlfriend is really great. Quote, good for you. My question for you is, would you ever shave your head?
To which Jonas says, yes, I've already asked my dad if I could.
Why does your dad get to decide?
I can't just shave my head. There's a lot more that goes into it than a normal 20-year-old. But I will, for sure. I've always wanted to.
That's so illuminating to me that at this point, Joe still can't just like
cut his hair.
His head. Yeah. So, postscript. Less than 48 hours after their interview, postscript meaning like this was added after the fact, Joe and Demi decided mutually, Joe insists, that it was better to be friends. Do you like the mutually, Joe insists?
I was like, Joe and Demi decided, mutually, Joe insists,
that it was better to be friends. Isn't it interesting how Joe is always trying to control the narrative publicly about his relationships?
This team knows what to do.
A few days later, they agreed to talk to Teen Vogue, this time separately, about their breakup. Joe says, quote, why don't you say that?
Oh, yeah. It could have been better timing. I guess he was calling from DC. But there's never really a good time for something like that. I really care about her.
Demi also calls from the LA set of Sunny with a Chance and says, quote, when asked if there was something missing between them, says no. Asked if that meant the decision was to end things. His decision was to end things. She says yes, contradicting what Joe said earlier, that it was a mutual decision. She says Joe broke up with him. I mean, Demi says that Joe broke up with them.
Yes.
I can't speak today. Quote, we haven't spent much time together since everything because that would be awkward. But I'm sure things will go totally back to normal once we're on tour together. Oh my God. Remember, they're still going to have to go on tour together.
Oh God, yeah. And then for the oh my God, and all the press for the movie. Oof.
It's just that at this point, I'd rather be hanging out with my girlfriends than seeing my ex. Joe then says to the interviewer that he is ready to resume the close friendship. Quote,
"Oh yeah, in this business, it's really hard to find people who are going to be there for the rest of your life. When I met Demi, I knew right away that our friendship was really strong. I don't want to lose that ever." Do we know how they talk now?
Done. Huh?
Do we know if Joe and Demi ever talk or hang out now?
Why am I going to spoil?
Oh, let me not ask too many questions.
Don't ask questions. You're not allowed. But I just think this is interesting because it's
There's already a struggle over who gets to say how this went down. You can feel it.
Yeah, always. And that's always in Joe's every relationship. He always has to be the one to be in control of the narrative, right? The other person never gets to be the one to say what it is. Joe always has to be no, they're wrong actually. Or in this case, he's it was mutual. And Debbie's yeah, no. No, babes.
No, babes.
He ended it. He completely ended it. And Joe's I'm just ready to resume the close friendship that we have. And Demi's yeah, I really don't want to have to hang out with my ex-boyfriend all the time, but that's my life, And it's interesting because knowing what we know is coming for Demi, I'm just this certainly could not have been healthy for her.
It's sad because all I see is
ends.
This is the beginning of a long series of similar kind of unfortunate incidents.
Matt, I love you and I love your hopeful optimism in the face of such immense pessimism, but
was that optimism?
Well, I mean, in the sense that you think that this is when it started, but if Demi was dating Trace Cyrus, then we know we're already in the thick of it. Okay.
Also, wait, can we use this moment now? If you guys aren't listening to the Patreon, you've already heard this. But when we did Camp Rock and finished it, you had stated we're actually not going to do a Demi deep dive because there's no charisma, not enough talent to work with here. Why are you hiding from the microphone? Jonas pulled back.
I didn't want to scream laugh into the mic. I have no
comment.
No comment. So we're gonna move on now from Demi and Joe for a little bit. So I found this very interesting that in July we have this report from NPR that comes out, and we're not going to spend too much time on this because we actually don't know if this directly impacts the Jonas Brothers, but I would assume it does. So we know that the Jonas Brothers are setting out on this huge tour with Demi. It's tied to the premiere of Camp Rock and their most recent album, and there is all this hubbub about it. And NPR reports that over the summer, Live Nation, and if you remember, Live Nation had signed that landmark deal with the Jonas Brothers.
140 concert tour.
Yes. So there's all these cancellations happening over the summer because the economy is basically so catastrophically bad that they just straight up cannot sell tickets to shows, right? And we know that, isn't this crazy? A downturn could be disastrous for Live Nation, the country's biggest promoter of live music. Earlier this year, Live Nation's merger with Ticketmaster was approved by the Justice Department. That should make the company even more powerful, but some in the industry say that Live Nation's own business model has caused it to stumble. We know that doesn't turn out to be true because obviously Live Nation owns most of the venues in this country now.
The monopoly will always win.
Yeah. But I find it interesting because we are talking a lot about how the Jonas Brothers aren't meeting sales expectations and their TV shows aren't performing up to snuff. They aren't meeting ratings demands. They are struggling to sell the kind of things that they did 3 years ago when they debuted, right? And had this huge marketing push from across the industry, this multi-level marketing scheme, if you will, by Disney and Live Nation and all the toy manufacturers and the candy people and all of that. They're really struggling. And while I don't have the specific sales numbers for what their projections were for the Jonas Brothers, we can assume that this impacted them. But I think it also more specifically, ties into the downturn that Scooter Braun talked about in our Justin Bieber series with the music industry, where he says that Justin came into the industry and people told Scooter and Justin that the music industry was dead, that like the world of the 2010s didn't exist, or the 2000s didn't exist anymore, right? It was a losing game to get into music because there was no more money to be made the way that you could make money.
Yeah, because that was when it became really digital focused.
Yeah.
And streaming numbers
was
don't give you
changing.
shit.
Streaming numbers were changing. People were buying less physical CDs. The economy was kind of collapsing.
Yeah, and live shows are really the type where they make a lot of money. It's not like people really... Even CDs didn't make that much money compared to what a concert would do.
Yeah, so, like, it's interesting that, like, we can kind of see the beginnings of the hole that Scooter Braun capitalized on with Justin and Ariana. And
Justin came at a good time, like, right when they were running the engines back
because
up.
there was, like, an opening... in the industry, there was like a growing vacuum, right? Because the old guard of like the youth music scene were kind of imploding. Miley was aged out of the demo, and the Jonas Brothers were just like straight up not performing as well as they were supposed to, right? And even like Camp Rock did not meet the expectations of High School Musical 2. I think the gambit worked because
always
High School
are chasing
Musical,
after High School Musical numbers.
Or sorry, after High School Musical. But I think it worked because High School Musical didn't really launch careers the same way. Obviously, like Vanessa Hudgens and Zac Efron went on to be like big deals.
Yeah.
But what I mean more specifically...
But they're the only two,
I think
really.
Zac Efron really was the one that had the launching pad.
Yeah, Vanessa Hudgens doing like Princess... Switch 3.
No, Vanessa Hudgens has had a,
and I love those
made
movies.
a lot of money. But what I'm saying is that like there wasn't like a musical act that spawned out of
I see what you mean.
High School Musical as successfully as the Jonas Brothers spawned out of Camp Rock. And so I think in that way, the Jonas Brothers paid off in just a different way than High School Musical. And they probably learned from the mistakes of High School Musical and how to spin something like that off. But ultimately, High School Musical itself has way more longevity than Camp Rock and has probably continued to make more money for Disney than Camp Rock, because High School Musical is an actual musical.
I know, that's what we were talking about in our Camp Rock review. I was like, the music didn't go. The only songs that were good were by like side characters who should have been the mains. Like none of the songs like had longevity. Like nobody really came out from it. People still reference High School Musical songs today, which is kind of insane when you think about it for a TV movie in 2007.
Yeah. I mean, one second, I'm looking at this thing from Playbill. Yeah. I mean, I think that like, I don't know. It's just interesting to think about that. So we know that tickets are slumping and the Jonas Brothers are slumping with them as these giant cracks start to form in the band around them, right? They have also never been as fractured as they are in this moment. So I just want to read this Daily Mail headline really quick. Kevin Jonas's new wife, Danielle, shows off her toned legs in an extra short frilly skirt from August 17th, 2010. So
Daily Mail at its finest, talking about women's legs.
Yeah.
Even the photo caption, leggy lovely.
Yeah. I know, it's really good. Danielle Jonas shows off her toned pins at the Trump International Hotel in New York City today. Her toned
Not Trump
pins.
International.
The comments: with a face like that, no wonder she wants to draw attention to her legs. Jesus fucking Christ.
I love how Daily Mail now has it where it says 1 decade ago. It's makes me sick.
Mrs. Jonas, this is Helen from Go Sport. Mrs. Jonas looks like a normal, attractive, not beautiful
in parentheses,
young
not
lady with nice legs. Her outfit is great, nothing lurid or way out. And while I'm not sure about dogs in carry cases in hot weather, I love that Helen from Go Sport is like,
she's like on it.
The dogs and this not beautiful but attractive young lady with nice legs is abusing animals. At least it saves it getting stepped on. However, are you sure that is a skirt? It looks to me as though the lower tier could actually be shorts, with the upper tier is making it look like a skirt. Very nice anyway. Would that I could look that good.
Would
Also,
that I could look that good?
Also, I love this one.
18 upvotes on that one.
From this other person. Geez, the green-eyed monster raises its ugly head. She is a perfectly lovely young woman, a lot prettier than the British royal women, except for the late lovely Princess Diana, whose sons will improve the attractiveness gene pool of that whole
my
island.
God. Oh my
Babe,
God.
What are you talking? I love that
are
she's
a whole
like,
other level.
I love that the Danielle Jonas lovely pins comment section has taken itself to a place of Princess Diana.
It's like only one step away, really. There's
Also,
like fights in these comments. There's like upvotes and downvotes.
Shamila from Nottingham. Oh, it's the Jonas brother. Love them. Please keep posting about them. They're amazing. Aw, Joe looks so cute with the balloons. All three of them are amazing, and Danielle is so pretty and has cute style, and the negative comments about her are either people who don't have such a nice figure as her. Kevin and her both seem happy, so just leave it at that. Just pointing out, some of the comments on here are just horrible, pointless if you don't know who they are. Firstly, why did you even bother clicking on the post? Just how pathetic can you get? And firstly, how are they talentless? If they have sold millions of copies worldwide and have sold out shows here in the UK, get your points right before you comment. Thanks you, Shamila. So we're moving on from the lovely pins of Danielle Jonas.
Dark.
Green-eyed monster. I can't believe they said green-eyed monster.
Jesus Christ.
Or parentheses, not beautiful.
That one is really it, honestly. She dragged her.
So Forbes in September 8th, 2010, puts out this incredible article report about the Disney Star Machine, and it's really good. We've linked it in the links here.
This is when people started to catch on, honestly, to like what was cooking in those Disney
I wanted
boardrooms.
I wanted to include it because, again, it's like nice to kind of like hear what people thought about how do I want to phrase this? The Avengers had just come out, and we were like kind of in like a
if I could stop time, if I could go back and change one thing.
But like we were kind of in like a Disney, Marvel, Fox hellscape. And
but was it on the way?
No, of course.
Or the stakes being planted?
It's interesting to hear what people said kind of at like the outset of that giant, massive conglomerate brewing on the horizon of the streaming wars, you know? So why don't you read this Forbes article for me?
Sure. Friday night's premiere of Camp Rock 2, The Final Jam, was a ratings boom for Disney Channel, winning over 8.2 million viewers. The biggest cable movie released in 2010, and Demi Lovato, the star, was all smiles doing press. In 2008, Camp Rock was written as a vehicle for the Jonas Brothers, Nick, Joe, and Kevin, who were at the height of their musical careers. Wow, we're already talking in past tense. Who were at the height of their musical careers. Think Justin Bieber
But it's also
craziness.
technically not true that they were at the height of their musical careers, because Camp Rock came out before the albums that launched.
I was going to say, like, they're adding to the propaganda. But it was Lovato, then 16, and a newcomer to the Disney talent stable, who was the breakout star, and so began her circuitous route to becoming a bona fide Disney princess. And these princesses are bringing in bank. According to Forbes 2010's Celebrity 100 list, former Mouseketeer Britney Spears, number 6 on the list, raked in $64 million from 2009 to 2010, work that included $130 million in gross ticket sales. Following in her footsteps, 17-year-old Miley Cyrus earned reportedly $48 million in the same year, landing her the number 13 spot with a box office gross of $1.2 million for her 57-city tour and lucrative merchandising deals with Disney. Not too shabby for the youngest on the list. In contrast, fellow Disney star Nick, Joe, and Kevin Jonas pulled in a collective paycheck of $35.5 million, placing them nearly halfway down the list at number 40. I'm gagging at Miley Cyrus earning $48 million that year, but only the box office gross for her 57-city tour is $1.2 million, including merchandise. Yeah. So where's the other money?
Well, no, that's the box office, meaning that was the box office for. Oh wait,
Yeah, for her
are they saying that
1.2 million for a 57 city tour and lucrative merchandising deals with Disney.
I read box office as the movie box office, not as the box office at a theater.
Yeah, I think the 48 million obviously incorporates probably
It's probably from
things.
like
the TV
television.
show. Yeah, I'm sure Disney was paying a lot. God, that's
Damn.
crazy. These numbers, though, knowing that like you can practically double them because of.
But isn't it funny that she
inflation.
was number 13 and then the Jonas Brothers were number 40?
I think it's kind of funny with the Jonas Brothers. There has to be like interstrife between like the fact that they have to split everything 3 ways financially because they
Well, that's
operate as
something
one
that-
unit. They're not like individually pulling in these numbers. It's like always as a unit. So anyway, just interesting little economics.
So, Penn Live has an article of the Jonas Brothers at the Hershey Stadium, Coliseum.
Yeah,
It's like
Hershey Park Stadium. Yeah.
Hershey Park Stadium. There we go. So they have this crazy article about them. Just the headline itself, I was like, God damn, whack them again for me. So that same month, do you read this headline? Read this headline.
Jonas Brothers' heartthrob status might be waning, but Hershey fans' loyalty isn't.
Their heartthrob status is waning.
Already, it's literally been like a minute since Camp Rock 2.
No, it's been a minute also. It's been 2 years since Camp Rock 1. Like,
it's like truly the 15
they're
minutes
like-
of fame. Like
they're
the
like,
fact-
as Nick ticks closer and closer to 18, they're like, get these fucking old bitches out of here, right? This is ageism against men. So, quote, I'm kidding, by the way.
If
Are the
only.
brothers as popular today? They make another appearance in Hershey tonight in the wake of a new crop of heartthrobs, such as Justin Bieber. Bieber, 16, has chart-topping pop songs and millions of fans on social media. The new teen sensation has embarked on his first
This is
tour,
crazy.
which includes a stop at the Allentown Fair, but not one in Hershey. The Jonas Brothers are practically senior citizens by comparison.
Okay, but like even Nick, the youngest, is like 16. 16,
Yeah.
17. Like it's not that different.
Ages 17 to 22, they've been touring since 2005. They put out 4 albums and appear on the Disney show Jonas LA.
I have to laugh. Also, the Bieber coming in on the side is really giving like, I hate to say Marvel like universe vibes where I'm like, oh my God, I remember that story. We talked about Justin Bieber. This is like prequel. Like
No, I'm saying this is the prequel to Justin Bieber. Well, it's the prequel, and then it's going to intersect with the back half of Justin Bieber's career slightly. We'll see why.
I have to laugh at thinking of if Justin Bieber didn't happen, where would the Jonas Brothers be today? It's like too much. It's like legitimately too powerful.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing to say. I don't want to think about that. So we're going to end now with something kind of dark. So on November 2nd, 2010, so Camp Rock 2 comes and goes. Demi Lovato quits the Jonas Brothers tour. So TMZ reports that Demi has entered a treatment facility that November and has, quote, bailed on an international concert tour with the Jonas Brothers. In a statement to TMZ, the 18-year-old singer's rep says, quote, Demi Lovato left her tour early this weekend in order to seek medical treatment for emotional and physical issues she has dealt with for some time. They make it clear that Demi is not seeking treatment for drug use. So shortly after, Jonas LA gets canceled as Demi leaves the tour. EW reports that Disney has pulled the plug on the Jonas Brothers series Jonas LA. Over the weekend, as Demi pulls out of the tour, show's director Paul Hone tweets, sadly no more Jonas LA, on November 6th. So just like really like 4 days after Demi leaves the tour. Disney then confirms to EW, and EW writes of the cancellation, quote, the end of Jonas LA is just another bump in a slew of successful Disney Channel franchises. Hannah Montana is scheduled to end next spring, while Demi Lovato's Sunny with a Chance could be potentially put on hold, which may signify the end of the current Disney Channel era.
Oh my God.
The network has watched its former tween stars like Shia LaBeouf and Hilary Duff transition into more adult roles, but will each of the Jonas Brothers do the same? Should Nick take on a more musical theater? What about Joe becoming a regular at a teen soap or tackling gritty indie movies? Can the Jonas Brothers step outside of their current Disney images, or will they perpetually be those cute boys next door who you could always call to help to put together a bookshelf?
Such a interesting way of phrasing.
Yeah. I'm like, stop watching porn. So
Get off AF3.
yeah, stop reading fan fiction.
Also, I do have to laugh because they're right. Like this really was the end of an era. Like,
no, that's what I wanted to bring this up for, was because like, I think that in many ways we have been kind of asking what happens with the Jonas Brothers. And I think really what it starts to feel like in hindsight is, I apologize for the metaphor, but it's really the only thing I can think of. It feels very much like the back half of the gold rush, where Disney knows where the gold is and that there's not that much left of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Not that that's how the gold rush went, but I'm just using that as like I said, apologize for the metaphor. But it's like Disney knows where the treasure is. They know that the treasure's running out because a bunch of people have already gotten to it. And so they pour all their time and effort into getting to the last of the treasure, and they get it. But then obviously the treasure's running out. It's done. It's over, right? And I think the Jonas Brothers were kind of victims of that. You know, they were, in many ways, it kind of feels like sometimes I think about what it felt like when I got hired at Jezebel, and a lot of people writing will say the same thing to you, where we talk about like, you know, like 2016, 2017 was really like the last of it being good.
Yeah.
The last of it being
when
like
you had like
something
a chance of fair work and
something
fair
that
play.
you could kind of count on, you know? And then so quickly, a bunch of us younger journalists that came in around that time had like 1 year of semi-normalcy, but things were kind of falling apart, and then everything fell apart. And like the only industry we have ever known is this one.
It just keeps.
I think that's kind of what happened with the Jonas Brothers, where like they got in at the end, right? The Jonas Brothers
still need you to pump out that material.
Yeah, but the Jonas Brothers like rode the success of Hannah Montana.
Yeah,
they rode the success of That's So Raven. They rode the success of Even Stevens.
Yeah,
they rode the success of their more, you know, successful Disney Channel counterparts. And Disney used the playbook it perfected over the 2010s to really get in there and make bank very quickly. But there wasn't a lot of longevity to it. And also the industry that they were doing that inside of was changing all around them, right? Like there was no way Disney's playbook for the Jonas Brothers could have lasted, because the industry itself could not last the 2010s, right?
No.
They were not predicting or accounting for the effects of streaming. They were not accounting for the effects of people like, say, Justin Bieber, who were social media savvy with social media savvy managers who were playing to new media and knew how to kind of maneuver in a rapidly changing market, right? Disney itself is a huge behemoth and slow to respond to change, right? It's kind of like what we joke about with a company that we used to work for that's pretty large, where you're like, it is this giant, slow-moving behemoth, and yes, it causes this like massive effect on the entire industry, but it's because when it puts its foot down, it causes an earthquake, right? Not necessarily because it's like truly changing the game around it, right? And it's slow to respond.
It could be
slow to
dying,
pivot.
but those last breaths will get everyone shook, and everyone will listen. Yeah,
but like it's not adaptive. It's not like
I think it's slow to change because it's so big.
Yeah,
and I feel like it really was Mickey Mouse Club
pieces.
to like HSM is like the rev up, and then it just like very quickly, because they can't adapt, falls apart.
Yeah, it completely falls apart, and I think the energy of the Disney brand that used to be through television, like children's programming, all of that energy and executive salary goes directly to Marvel.
I was about to say that's literally what it becomes, isn't it?
Disney acquires Marvel in,
I think early 2010s, I'm pretty sure.
I'm getting it right now. In 2009. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Earlier than I
that
thought, actually.
all of that money just goes. I mean, and not all of that money, but like
Over
all
time,
of that
it
attention.
soon
It feels
becomes
like
everything.
Yeah, it feels like all that attention just pivots to Marvel because they're like, oh, adults stay adults longer than kids stay kids, and we already know how to market to a bunch of
And
fucking
maybe we
nerds.
raised those children that are now adults, so we
maybe
really have
we
a grip
raised
on their
those children.
consciousness.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that thing everyone's
So-
been like, people on TikTok are starting to all realize that the last like 10 years of Disney movies are just about like putting millennialisms into the princesses, and that it's like the same character every time. And I'm like, well, guess who now works for Disney? Guess who's been growing up, but who grew up with Disney is now adult with children. Like, they are going to hold on to you guys and milk everything they can out of you until it stops. It's crazy to also see Disney go from content creation as their content creation in parks and theming and branding to now like services and distribution platforms. Like, they're now, I think I was just reading today, they're almost going to finish buying out the rest of Hulu. They already own majority of it, but now they're going to finish out Hulu because gotta own that services monopoly.
That is true. And I want you to make note of this Variety article I just sent you. Can we talk about that in Leftovers next week?
Oh, yeah.
There's this incredible report.
Oh,
about
I haven't read it yet.
Crisis
but
at
I'm
Marvel. It's so juicy. It's so juicy.
Ooh.
I was reading it and I was gagged. I was like, oh, girl, they're going there. They are literally going there.
Crisis at Marvel, Jonathan Majors' backup plan, the Marvel reshoots, reviving original Avengers, and more issues revealed. Oh, I need this injected into my body.
So, the day after Jonas LA gets canceled, Demi Lovato's assistant or spokesperson, excuse me, clarifies to the press that Demi is not being treated for drugs. Says, quote, Demi Lovato is not in treatment for drug or alcohol addiction. As we have said, Demi entered treatment last week, decided to seek help for emotional and physical issues that Demi's battled throughout their life. She's taken this step in order to get her life in order. While we know many people are interested in Demi and her life, we do ask for a modicum of privacy during this difficult time. They said that she was, quote, bullied in school, has a history of eating disorders and cutting for herself, and, you know, just asks for privacy for Demi, which is like crazy that they'd be like, by the way, our client isn't doing drugs, but she does have an eating disorder and she cuts herself and was
self-harm.
bullied.
My God.
Like, Jesus Christ. So
I just like, also what kind of is like shaking me already is like, I know Demi's been in and out of treatment for various things, not just this, but other things as well later on. But knowing that this really does begin right when they turn 18 and like we're still kind of in this, it feels like it's just, it's like, the curse of Disney, honestly. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
So in the background of all of this is a fight that allegedly broke out at the tour that resulted in Demi being removed from the plane.
I don't think I know about
ultimately
this at
the
all.
tour. It got physical. I'll explain a little bit more. So People gets the details on this. So shortly after news breaks that Demi's being removed from the tour and is maybe being sent to treatment, People reports that there was a physical fight between Demi and a backup dancer on the Jonas Brothers World Tour on their private plane. They say that the problem started the night before. Quote, as she did on most nights, says a source, Demi invited her band dancers and her parents to dinner. Afterwards, she broke up with a very small group. The following day, tour managers and Demi Lovato's stepfather, Eddie, questioned the group's conduct. According to a source close to the situation, the group had been partying. Quote, when tour management found out about this, they talked to the people involved, including Demi. Demi reacted badly and perceived that someone on tour had told on her. When Lovato and other tour members were on an airplane that same day, Lovato confronted a young dancer who she thought might have been the one to blame for telling on her. There was a short physical altercation, says the source, adding that it was one-sided. Demi attacked her.
the use of the word partying is loaded, to say at least.
So I just like really don't want to go long on Demi's drug stuff, you know, like we talked about with Justin Bieber, like as a recovering addict, I really don't find it helpful to be like, overly inquisitive about what kind of
because it
drugs and
doesn't
where.
really matter in the end.
It
right?
doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
right? We know Demi struggles. They have since talked about they were on drugs. And, it's like a really sad situation exacerbated by the working conditions of Disney. And so the year ends for the Jonas Brothers on like just a really sour note. Their tour implodes because of this. Obviously, I think they continue to perform. We will find out next week. But they sort of, I think, are fully now in the collapse period of their early career.
It's starting to become
Things
like
are falling
save the money
apart.
where you can.
Money is drying up. And, now the drama that surrounds them is not as self-contained, right? Like, they really can't go back now to the, what is it that they've said? Like, wide-eyed boys next door that can put together a bookshelf because, like, there's hard drugs on their tour and people are getting into fistfights on planes,
Yeah. And one of them's married. One of them has the new solo career. It is like completely fracturing.
Yeah.
The cohesive image.
Joe also like broke up with Demi already. Like, it's just a bunch. So there's two things I want to end with. Shortly after Thanksgiving, Joe gets almost arrested in Abu Dhabi for having a knife in his bag. That's really all I have to say about Joe. But there's this really interesting interview with manager Johnny Wright, who sounds off on the state of the music industry for the Hollywood Reporter. Now, Johnny Wright, for those of you who don't know, his name should be familiar to those of you who like have been in the business and or paid attention to the series, know anything about music. Johnny Wright famously managed New Kids on the Block, Backstreet Boys, let me think, NSYNC, the Jonas Brothers, Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, I think.
I think so.
Anyways, he's a prolific music manager, and he gives an interview to the Hollywood Reporter about not just the Jonas Brothers, but like the state of the music industry as a whole. And it's really interesting. So I'd like to read it here to end the episode. So THR asks, is the Disney platform weakening, or is it just a matter of cycling it through?
Wright says, I think they still have the strongest platform in the world, but their alumni has gotten older. The Jonas Brothers are all over 18, so is Miley Cyrus and soon Selena Gomez. I'm sure they're creating a pipeline of new TV shows with new musical acts, but until they come out, it seems like there's been this lull. But I will say about the difference between Disney and Justin, there's no restriction on Justin. Whereas Disney acts have to be wholesome and family oriented. I'm not saying Justin is a bad boy, but he can be a little riskier and dresses a little different. He can be connected to Chelsea lately. It's going to be interesting to see the transition into his next album cycle.
And this is really interesting here because, again, it's kind of what we were talking about a little bit earlier, where like Justin can move differently than the Jonas Brothers did because Justin was never tethered to the Disney Channel image. He was never tethered to a brand. His brand was Justin Bieber.
Yep.
His brand wasn't Disney. His brand wasn't Hannah Montana. His brand wasn't High School Musical. His brand was Justin Bieber. And he got to be Justin Bieber, and Scooter got to position him as kind of like, like a young Maverick, basically.
Honestly, yeah.
So the Hollywood Reporter then asks, with that in mind, how do the Jonas Brothers transition smoothly into adult artists? Do you have a plan?
Wright then says, there are two ways young teen artists can make a push into maturity. Some do it by creating great albums that talk about topics that relate to who they are and where they are at that age, and the fans that are growing with them understand and relate to that musical journey and follow them, like Justin Timberlake. Then there are those who feel like they have to do some provocative grandstanding thing, whether it's moving to the dark side of alcohol and drugs, or just declaring, I'm an adult now. You always find that those who move forward in music actually end up doing better because it's a career move. It's not just an image, but that's where the Jonas Brothers are. Over the next 7 to 12 months, they'll start rolling out more mature music. In their collaborations, they will always be the Jonas Brothers, but like Nick started with the administration, you will also see Joe and Kevin do individual projects that bring their personalities out, growing from teens into men. Then collectively, they will bring all those experiences back together to make a Jonas Brothers album, gaining new fans along the way.
There'd be no Jonas Brothers album, and there would be very few personal projects. The Hollywood Reporter says, so there is a plan.
And Wright ends, it's just a natural progression, but it feels like a plan. It's always better to do things when you, as an artist, feel it's time, not when the public is saying we don't want you anymore. Then it's too late.
But can't you see now, knowing what's coming in the next episode, the beginning of the end here, that you can kind of tell things are over a little bit by the way that Johnny responds to these questions?
He's like, we're hoping, and it's going to be low investment.
Yeah.
And
he's like,
you'll see.
He's like, check back with our rollout next week.
He legitimately
right?
said, like, rain check. We'll talk about it later.
We're getting ready to roll out the rollout, you know? Like,
we are preparing to start pre-production on some projects that we may go forward with in the next year. Oof.
So, barring barring the 25-minute conversation we had about Halloween earlier this episode. This episode was a little bit oddly paced just because like this was stuff that was supposed to be in more one like supersized episode and just didn't have a place elsewhere. This is really the last episode now of the 2010s, as well as the era of the Jonas Brothers that has defined this series for the first 6 parts. Next week, we are going to start moving a little bit quicker because things happen a little bit quicker. We're probably going to cover basically like maybe 2 more episodes on the Jonas Brothers before we move on.
Kind of like catching up and then now.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff there that I think is really interesting to talk about in a more macro sense than instead of these like kind of like micro years.
It's so crazy comparing to like
lives.
Justin, Selena, and Ariana, where like the Jonas Brothers really did pop off like crazy, but for a smooth, highly concentrated 2 to 3 year period.
Yeah.
And then unlike Justin and Selena, well, more so Justin and Ariana, it's like consistently either positive or negative news every month for 10 to 15 years straight.
No, that's the
and
thing.
then Jonas
That's why
Brothers truly, it's like we now are hitting like a very empty valley for the next 10 years.
That was the interesting part, and that's really what I wanted to talk about at the end of this is like that's one thing I've really noticed with the difference between Ariana and the Jonas Brothers is that like we have had to kind of do this thing with the Jonas Brothers where we've been doing it year by year for them, and it's because like unlike Ariana where for some of those episodes like she kind of disappears from the public eye, went away for a year, goes off to record her album, isn't really engaging with the fans. Like the Jonas Brothers are like, there's 3 of them, you know? So we have to have 3 people's worth of information, but also they are just constantly in public for those 4 years, right? It's funny because there's no mystery about them, you know? With Justin,
that's kind of true. There's no like forbidden tea, unlike we've seen with everyone else.
Well, there are, but
not as interesting.
It's more just like with Justin and even Ariana. There's like this air of mystery about them still. This air of unattainability that they like live in some other place. But the Jonas
Maybe
Brothers
because they're
always
like
felt
real
I could,
superstars.
Yeah, the Jonas Brothers feel like I could go into Wawa tomorrow and see Kevin.
You
know?
might,
like
you honestly might.
And
Don't
he's
put it past
getting
you.
a soft pretzel and dipping it in the cheese sauce, you know.
That
it's
might be like
oh,
that'd be such a moment, honestly.
he's getting a dragon fruit refresher, you know, and it's like I could see it so clearly in my mind, you know. Joe Jonas and not Joe. Kevin has absolutely ordered a Wawa pizza. By the way, I ate a Wawa pizza.
Oh yeah,
We'll talk about that on the bonus episode.
Okay.
That's all. That's the episode today, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Sorry that I was yawning like crazy.
Mama's not ready for the time
We are officially
change
in the
coming
winter
up.
where it gets like dark like 4:45 and my brain is like, turn off, Joan. Turn
Wait,
off,
if it
Joan.
gets dark there at 4:45 right now, it's about to get dark at 3:45 by this week.
No, it just feels like that, you know, like it just feels
it's gonna be
like
wretched.
it's
still
so
gonna be
dark.
wretched.
No, it's going to be so wretched. The winters here are longer because I think we're farther north.
Yeah, they are. Your nights will be longer at a certain point. That's why your days are so long in the summer.
Yeah. But I am excited for the holidays. I'm excited to finish this series up. This episode was definitely my least favorite year in the Jonas Brothers' lives.
It's really the wind down. Like we're starting
It's the wind
It's starting to
down,
get
yeah.
real and not in a fun way.
This is the holiday wind down, you know, when everyone starts sending emails like, okay, see you guys next year. Like that's how this episode feels.
Have a great summer.
We'll be back with a vengeance next week. I will not be staying out till 4 a.m. the night before we record a big episode.
That also makes a difference.
That also makes a big
by the way, I
difference.
started Brittany's
I woke
book.
up this- It's so good.
It's really good. Yeah, I'm only the first 100 pages, but
That's actually going to be what we end this series with, is an episode about Brittany's book.
we have
So
to talk
I'm very
about it.
excited about
We
that.
have to talk about it.
Stay tuned to that, guys. We're going to talk about the book with a very special guest, we hope, and we will talk about that later. But otherwise, you know where to find us. It's all in our ending song after we say goodbye. If you are going to be at the march and are like deadly afraid of being alone, look for resources, reach out, etc., etc. You know what to do. I hope to see everybody there. It's really, really important that we all show out. And again, if you are not on the East Coast, if DC is not close by, look for demonstrations in your city. I mean, the Philly Palestine Coalition has been ceaselessly organizing marches and rallies. So, try to get involved with your local BDS group, your local Palestinian coalition. I am sure there are people organizing much closer than you think. So, stay strong, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Do you have anything for us?
No, let's get out of here.
Yeah. It's hard this week also because we're talking about the Jonas Brothers, and that Predator drone thing just like sucks all the air out of every time I was writing about it, I'm just like, it just like makes me feel crazy. It like destabilizes me this whole episode. Could you tell how destabilizing it was? I was like, rah!
Here, let's like tapping into a part that you're like trying to actively avoid. Because it just makes you so emotional and angry. Yeah. Understandable.
Oh, also, going forward after the Jonas Brothers, last thing, we are going to try to make a little bit leaner episodes just because I am now gainfully employed at Paper Magazine again. So
congratulations. Even though we've talked about it a million times already, but congratulations again.
So we're going to try to be we're going to try to keep episodes around an hour and 20 in the future. But the Jonas Brothers, it's fine.
It's all
it's
on
our
you.
last big series of
That's
the
all I'll
year.
say.
I know it's on me. I'm just saying we're a team.
Gotta make some promises.
Yeah, and if you're first time in the holidays with us, we take Halloween off. We take Thanksgiving off, and we take Christmas and the New Year off.
Yeah.
So just know that this is kind of the start to our wind down as well for the year. We like to take breaks, obviously, because this is our full-time job. And we just hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And for those of you in DC, see you out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Goodbye. You've been listening to Eating for Free, a podcast created, co-hosted, written, researched, and produced by myself, Joan Summers, and Matthew Lawson, with original theme music by Sam Huntington of Crooks and Nannies. If you liked what you heard today, you can go to patreon.com/eatingforfree to get access to weekly bonus episodes, as well as access to my other podcast, Beautiful Women Updates, hosted by myself and Alex V. Green. You can also go to eatingforfree.com to get access to the links to our research from today's episode, as well as merch and so much more.